everybody, my name is Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for joining me today for another Self-Care Sunday. Today we are going to be talking about mindful eating tips. One thing that I have always had some trouble with in my adult life is watching what I eat. This can be in regards to portion control or just convincing myself I don't need that extra snack, boredom eating, etc., etc. So I took a workshop recently through the county health department and through work about mindful eating. It was led by Oscar Flores, who is a mindfulness meditation teacher. And I came away with some really good tips that he had shared as part of his research, and it really inspired me to take a look at my own life and see what I could do to be more mindful about my eating, and I wanted to share it with all of you. As a side note, when I was getting ready to prepare this video, I didn't realize that I was wearing a sweater that says "I'll eat you up," so that's just a funny coincidence and weirdly on theme for this video. So I'm going to be sharing 5 tips with you today that I have been trying to incorporate into my life a little bit more to help me be more present when I'm eating a meal, really enjoy what I'm eating, feel satisfied with what I've eaten, and help to curb those other cravings that I might get and stop me from going back for seconds or for another snack after I've already had my meal, and to just feel present and full when I'm eating. The first tip is pretty simple, and you've probably heard it before, and that is to make time for eating and to make sure that you are present with your food. So this means that, during the workday to actually set aside time to eat. Use your lunch break for eating. Don't find yourself in front of your computer, still checking and responding to emails, eating during a meeting. Make sure that you really set aside that time. Another thing that is related to this is to make sure that you're sitting down while you're eating. I know I'm very guilty of eating really quickly over the sink or at the counter, but when you actually take the time to put your food on a plate or in a bowl and go sit down with it, that's taking you away from the food source, so you're present with what you've already served yourself and you're making time and space. Another aspect related to this is to not eat in front of the TV. This is one that I have a really hard time with. I love to eat dinner in front of the television, but I do often find that I'm paying a lot more attention to what's on the TV than I am to my actual food, which can lead me to not really enjoy what I'm eating. There's also a ton of food commercials on TV and just a ton of food in TV. And if you're anything like me, you actually enjoy watching Food Network a lot, and that can spur on those cravings. So turning off the TV, sitting at the dining room table or at your kitchen table, and making that time for your evening meal. The second tip is to engage as many of your senses as possible while you're eating. So during this workshop that I attended, Oscar led us through an exercise where we had some food in front of us. I had a bowl, I think of salad or maybe oatmeal or something. And he instructed us first to engage our senses by looking at our food for a little while. So really looking at the plate, seeing what we have, observing the colors, observing, what we could see of the textures. And that's all related to the mindfulness practices in general of kind of tuning in with your surroundings and really taking the time to observe and focus. Then we took a smell of our food. I don't very often stop to actually sniff what I'm eating. I might smell it while I'm preparing it, but to actually take that forkful or spoonful up to your nose or the whole bowl and really sniff it without getting ready to eat, but just taking that second to smell what you're about to eat and how that plays on your palate as well. As you might know, smell and taste are very connected senses. If it's something that you could touch without it being too messy, you can touch that, see how it feels, and just really engage with your food. And then, of course, taking a taste of it and really taking that second to let the taste linger on your palate and to really observe what that first bite tastes like. So maybe how juicy that pineapple is, or how refreshing, whatever else it is that you're eating might be, and to really bask in that sensation and observe how that feels and how good it tastes to have that first bite. Which leads into the next tip, which is noticing the evolution of flavors. So you might have heard that our taste buds kind of get numb after the first few bites. So your first bite of something doesn't actually taste as good as, your fifth, sixth, seventh, etc., etc. Those first few bites are really what has the most impact of flavor. And so when you take the time to notice that and to notice how the evolution of the flavors is changing from bite to bite, you might not be as inclined to go back for seconds because that initial flavor burst that you got at the beginning has passed. And so you can say, okay, well, I enjoyed that now, and now it's time to rest and be satisfied with that sensation. So to really notice the evolution of the flavors as you progress through your meal. The next tip is to remember to slow down while you're eating. I know that often during the workday, if it's a particularly stressful day and I break for lunch, I can still be kind of running on that adrenaline, and it's really hard for me to calm down to really enjoy my lunch. So some tips for that I have, or just if you notice that you're eating too fast, if you're able to, maybe take a pause from eating, go for a little bit of a walk to calm yourself down, separate from whatever stressors you're going through. Or you could just take a second to tune in mindfully with yourself and figure out why you might be eating so fast. Another really easy one is to make sure that you put your utensil down in between each bite. So it can be really awkward at first, but oftentimes if you keep your fork or your spoon in your hand, you're just shoveling in, right? You don't pause in between. You take one bite, you've loaded it up for the next bite, you just keep going. But if you put your fork or your spoon down between bites, you have that couple of seconds where you're chewing and really enjoying, and then you have to spend that split second thinking about picking it up again. So that can help to slow the process down as well. And then the very last tip, which I kind of already touched on, is if you do notice that you're eating too fast, to acknowledge that, not judge it or, beat yourself up about it, but just to acknowledge that and to put everything down, take a deep breath, and try to calm down your body a little bit before you continue on eating. So like I said, sometimes with lunch breaks, I try to go for a little bit of a walk beforehand to separate my work from the break that I'm about to take. If it's at dinner and I notice I'm going too fast, I'll just put everything down, take a couple of breaths, maybe take a sip or two of water, just really refocus and check in with yourself to see if there's a reason why you might be going too fast. If you're kind of running off the adrenaline of some other stressor, if your mind's somewhere else, whatever it might be, don't judge it, just acknowledge it and then proceed with your meal. So those are my tips for mindful eating. It's a subject that I'm very, very interested in because it's something that's really hard for me. And so I thought that these tips were really interesting and I wanted to share them with all of you who might be having a hard time being present while you're eating and are looking to kind of curb some of those snack habits or mindless eating habits. If you have another tip for mindful eating, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you and add it to our toolkit of tips that we can all help each other with. All right, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Have a great Sunday and a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.